Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Robert Kiyosaki. 9 mind-changing lessons about money-making. Imagine two fathers, one highly educated but financially struggling, the other a school dropout but immensely wealthy. This is the foundation of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki's groundbreaking book that challenges conventional wisdom about money. Through personal anecdotes and powerful lessons, Kiyosaki reveals how his poor dad, his biological father, followed the traditional path of job security and hard work but remained financially constrained. In contrast, his rich dad, his best friend's father, mastered the art of wealth building through financial education, investments, and entrepreneurship. This book isn't just about money, it's about changing your mindset. Kiyosaki debunks myths like, your house is an asset, and emphasizes financial literacy, passive income, and the power of making money work for you. Whether you're a student, employee, or aspiring entrepreneur, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a must-read that will transform how you think about wealth, success, and financial freedom. Lesson 1. Wealthy people don't struggle for financial gain. In the 1950s, 9-year-old Robert Kiyosaki and his friend Mike had lofty goals of becoming wealthy, but they had no idea how. After a failed attempt to make coins from melted toothpaste tubes, they sought advice from their fathers. Robert's own well-educated but poor father recommended following the familiar advice: get a solid job, study, and go to school. While this advice is common, it's largely flawed. It leads to a cycle of working hard for money, only for most of it to go to taxes, bills, and employers, keeping people from truly becoming wealthy. Unfortunately, many still follow this path out of fear and societal pressure, working tirelessly without achieving significant financial success. On the other hand, Mike's father, a wealthy man, took Robert under his wing, offering to teach him about money if he worked for him at 10 cents an hour. After weeks of low pay and frustration, Robert complained, claiming he had learned nothing about money. But in that moment, Mike's father gave Robert his first lesson. Working for money doesn't guarantee wealth. The rich, he explained, don't work for money. This was the start of Robert's understanding of how wealth is truly created. Lesson 2. Gain financial knowledge, identify real assets, and invest wisely in them. The wealthy get rich by making their money work for them. Instead of spending on luxuries, they invest in assets that generate income. At this point, Robert was still a child, unfamiliar with the term asset, but Mike's wealthy father would soon change that. He taught the boys that while the wealthy buy assets, the poor often buy liabilities, mistakenly thinking they are acquiring assets. An asset, he explained, is anything that puts money in your pocket, while a liability is something that costs money. For example, a house is often seen as an asset, but it's actually a liability. A mortgage requires years of payments, draining your finances. Additionally, those mortgage payments could have been invested in more profitable assets. Rich Dad simplified the lesson: to get rich, buy real assets. If you spend your life acquiring liabilities, you'll never succeed. Middle-class people often rely on a salary to cover liabilities like mortgages, school loans, and credit card debt. The wealthy, however, don't need a salary because their assets generate enough income to support them and fund further investments, such as stocks, bonds, or rental properties. This reinvestment makes them richer. By minimizing liabilities and investing in assets, you can accumulate wealth over time. Lesson 3. Be interested in yourself, make money for yourself and not for your boss. You might protest, if you don't have a job, how can you afford to invest in assets? Is the money supposed to appear out of thin air? The answer is no, no one's advising you to quit your job just yet. However, Kiyosaki emphasizes the importance of focusing on your own money in his third lesson. This doesn't mean staying out of others' business. It means focusing on your finances and earning for yourself and your company. In other words, mind your own business by building your asset portfolio, rather than relying on promotions, bonuses, or pay increases. There's a distinction between your career and your business. Your career is the job you do to pay the bills, your title like sales manager or restaurant owner. Your business, however, is what you invest in to grow your assets. When Robert was young, his wealthy father encouraged him to buy assets, while his poor father advised focusing on a secure, well-paying job. Robert followed the advice of his rich father. At age 9, he started his first business by renting comic books to kids, while also working a day job as he got older at companies like Xerox and Standard Oil of California. But he used his earnings to invest in assets, building a portfolio that generated income and minimizing his expenses. Through this, Kiyosaki learned to keep his mouth shut. He had a job, but it was his investments that ultimately made him wealthy. His assets worked for him even when he slept. You should adopt the same mindset. Even with promotions, your salary alone won't make you wealthy. But using it to purchase assets can. The key lesson? Understand the difference between your career and your business. Which one are you focusing on? Lesson 4. By mastering tax codes and legal systems, the affluent stay ahead of structures designed to limit them. Robert Kiyosaki loved the story of Robin Hood as a child, but his wealthy father disagreed. Rich Dad saw Robin Hood as a fantasy that inspired the tax system he despised. Like Robin Hood, the government takes from the rich to give to the poor, but Rich Dad argued it doesn't work. The middle class bears the tax burden, while the rich use sophisticated methods, like corporations, to avoid taxes. Corporations spend pre-tax money and are taxed only on what's left, unlike individuals who pay taxes before spending. Wealthy people can also protect their assets by creating businesses. If a corporation fails, owners lose their investment, but their personal assets are safe. This limited liability allows the wealthy to profit without the same risks. The key lesson? The wealthy stay ahead of taxes and legal systems by understanding them and using them to their advantage. Lesson 5. Most people do not have financial education. Rich Dad took Robert and Mike under his wing when they were young and allowed them complete access to his own business affairs. They learned what it takes to be a successful business owner by attending his meetings with bankers, lawyers, and accountants. The lads thereby gained a great deal of knowledge, and they did it rapidly. However, they soon started to run into issues. You see, the pair found it difficult to take school seriously because of the skills they were gaining from Rich Dad. They were often reminded that success and wealth come naturally to those who study and work hard. Rich Dad was the only one who seemed to have considered the possibility that financial literacy might potentially be significant. Youngsters are ignorant of concepts like compound interest since they aren't educated about saving or investing. Even high school students today frequently max out their credit cards, which is another evidence of this. This deficiency in financial intelligence education affects not only today's young people but also highly educated adults, many of whom make bad financial choices. Consider it. The majority of people have no retirement plan at all. 50% of American workers do not have pensions. Additionally, between 75 and 80% of the others have ineffective pensions. It's obvious that society has left us with inadequate financial literacy. However, one of Kiyosaki's most important lessons is to become financially educated. What do you do then? Get informed and begin creating a financial plan. Lesson 6. Gain financial literacy in 3 steps. Assess your current situation, set financial goals, and build the knowledge needed to reach them. You can start your journey toward wealth at any age, but the earlier you begin, the better. Starting at 20 gives you a higher chance of success than starting at 30. Here are 3 steps to get started. 1. Assess your financial situation. 2. Set your goals. 3. Gain the education you need to achieve them. First, honestly evaluate your finances. Consider your current income and future earning potential, as well as manageable expenses. Be realistic. Avoid thinking about money you don't have. Set achievable goals, like buying a Mercedes in 5 years, as Kiyosaki's wife did after earning money from their apartment buildings. Next, invest in your financial education. Learn how to handle money, build sales skills, and boost your confidence. Consider working for a network marketing company, attending seminars, reading books, and networking with professionals. To recap, assess your finances, set goals, and build your financial intelligence. By following these steps, you'll be on the path to wealth. Lesson 7. The financial acumen and bravery of the wealthy can make them create money at ease. To improve your financial situation, you must shift your attitude toward money. One of the biggest changes you need to make is learning to take risks. In the real world, It's often the brave who succeed, not just the smart. Whether you call it courage, daring, or chutzpah, all wealthy people share the courage to take chances. Because if you let fear control you, you'll miss out on valuable opportunities. This is why many smart and hardworking people face financial difficulties. They're too afraid of social rejection or losing money to invest in stocks or other assets. Success requires more than just knowledge, it also requires courage. Financial intelligence involves both knowledge and bravery. The wealthy possess both, enabling them to recognize opportunities, know how to seize them, and have the guts to act. While it may seem like they're just lucky, they're actually creating their own luck. Robert and Mike learned this lesson during Rich Dad's business meetings. True success in the real world isn't just about hard work, it's about courage. When you combine financial knowledge with bravery, you can spot opportunities and take action, essentially creating money. Lesson 8. Instead of taking the cautious route, put your money into stocks, bonds, or tax lien certificates. To improve your financial situation, you need to embrace risk. Investing in basic bank accounts might feel safe, but it offers minimal returns. Stocks and bonds, though riskier, have the potential for greater profits. If you're not keen on the stock market, real estate or tax lien certificates, which offer interest rates from 8% to 30%, can also help build wealth. However, risk increases with potential gains, and without taking risks, you'll miss out on significant returns. To generate higher income, you must be willing to handle the risks. Lesson 9. Strive to learn more than to earn. Robert Kiyosaki quickly found a stable, well-paying job after graduating, which most would dream of. His poor dad thought that hard work and a steady job were the keys to wealth. But Rich Dad and Robert thought differently. Robert left his job after 6 months to train as a Marine Corps pilot, not for a steady paycheck, but to gain knowledge. Rich Dad knew Robert was seeking meaningful learning, not just earnings. Rich Dad believed in a broad base of knowledge. He encouraged Robert and Mike to work in different areas within his business empire, construction, marketing, sales, etc., to learn a variety of skills. Specialization, as his poor dad believed in, might work for some, but it didn't help him. Rich Dad, who never finished 8th grade, understood that learning a range of skills was more important than focusing on a single specialty. In conclusion, Kiyosaki's wealth, now over $100 million, was built by following these lessons. Don't work for money, invest in assets, maintain a side business, understand taxes, have the courage to seize opportunities, and prioritize learning. Rich Dad taught that it's not just about earning, but about learning widely to grow wealth.